You're likely listening to this podcast because your life is already busy. But what about those times when life just goes from regular busy to over the top, crazy, crazy busy, right? What about those times? That's what this episode is all about. Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less. Have you ever felt like you just cannot get a break? Like life just keeps piling it on? Yeah? Well, me too. And I'm actually in one of those very busy seasons of life right now where a lot of things are converging all at once. They all require my time, more of it than I have. Some of these things are of my own making, some of them are not. But either way, they have got to get done. So it all came to a head recently when I was trying to schedule something with friends and I looked at our family calendar and I realized that, you know what, there was only one single weekend day for the rest of 2024. And I was looking at this stuff in September, right? So there were a lot of months left of 2024. There's only one weekend day that was not accounted for. I felt that we had been shifting into this busy season, but I did not realize quite how bad it was until I had this experience of looking at the calendar, trying to find a time to have brunch with some friends, and just could not do it for the remainder of the year. So, what's been going on that's above and beyond the kind of normal busy for me? I'm just sharing this with you to give you some ideas of things to look out for when you're thinking about your own busy schedule and what happens when things are about to go over the top. So, few things. One, we have some folks in our family with health issues. In our extended family, it's requiring a lot of travel and mental energy. I am definitely fully part of the sandwich generation now, where I've got kids and I've got aging parents, and we're feeling the feels of that. I am also now a sports parent for the first time in my life. My 15-year-old joined a travel volleyball league at the beginning of this year. And that means that at least one parent is traveling with him most weekends, gone from, anywhere from 4 or 5 in the morning until 7 or 8 at night. And that's if they're not spending the night over somewhere. My 13-year-old has been applying to high schools, which is a ridiculous, really ridiculous process in San Francisco. It's like a full-time job all on its own, replete with essays. Yes, essays that I have to write about him as if I'm somehow going to say bad things about my own kid. I am not. This is ridiculous. I get it. I live in San Francisco where public school is run on a lottery system, and therefore it's necessary to have other options if you can, because I have applied for public school for my kids many, many times, and we have never gotten anything anywhere near to our house, things that are all across town, etc. So, needless to say, we are applying to high schools. Also, within the last couple of months, my 13-year-old broke his arm. He broke it so badly that he needed surgery. He now has a metal plate in it. So we've just had a lot of doctor's appointments. In fact, this morning, before I started recording this, I spent several hours with him in an orthopedic surgery update meeting, getting his cast off, getting something else on, getting x-rays, etc. So just like lots of doctor's appointments, in addition to the lots of doctor's appointments that I already have because I am still in cancer recovery for when I was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of years ago. So here's one thing I know. I can't just absorb all of that and hope for the best. Like that stuff, all that stuff I just laid out is just above and beyond the buffer that I already include in my schedule. It will not work for me to just absorb it. I will be super stressed. I will be unhappy. And quite frankly, you know, not everything will get done, right? I don't want to move into a realm where I am just hoping for the best. It's not okay also with me to be spending all of my waking hours doing things that just have to be done. It's really important for me and for my mental health to be able to have downtime, to relax, etc. So I had to get creative about how I'm managing my time and my commitments. So first things first, I defined the period of time that I'm dealing with. Most of the stuff that I mentioned, not all of it, of course, we don't know about health issues, health outcomes, but a lot of the stuff will be resolved by the end of January. So I was looking at like a 4 month period here. So 4 months where I need to make some changes, some trade-offs so that I am choosing what to do with my time during that time and I'm being really thoughtful about it. So first I decided on some non-negotiables, right? What am I not going to move on, right? So the first thing is I'm not going to reduce my sleep. That's going to make things so much harder. If I just get less sleep, that is going to make everything else harder. So I cannot reduce my sleep to make it happen. And I know that's one of the first things that people do when they get busy is they just don't sleep as much, but I am unwilling to do that because I know it's just going to make everything else harder. I am also not willing to give up my hobbies. I am going to spend a little less time on them. So I like to go to the pottery studio a few times a week. I may reduce that a little bit, but I'm not going to stop because that's really important to me and to my mental health also. And I'm also not going to stop exercising. This is another thing that's often the first to go, but it is really helpful for me, both, for my body to remain strong, but also for my mental health to exercise. So maybe I'll exercise less, but I am not going to remove it altogether. I do need to make some cuts though, right? So here's what I am deciding to cut. First, I'm reducing commitment on a number of different areas of my life. Some of these are, like I really love having people over for dinner, for barbecues, etc. But they're a lot of work. And so I'm just taking a hiatus from hosting any type of events, right? We are not hosting any events whatsoever through the holiday season and beyond until February. I'm also reducing some expectations, right, of my exercise. So my goal usually is to exercise 6 days a week. I don't do that all the time, but that's my goal. I'm just going to reduce my goal to 3 times a week. And again, I mentioned the pottery studio. I usually go several times a week. I'm probably going to reduce this to like max twice a week. And I likely will not take on any other new projects, right? Not any new knitting projects, not any crocheting projects. I'm not going to take on like new projects for me in this time. Now, I'm also, in addition to reducing the commitment in a number of areas, I'm also going to be asking for people to share the load with me. So, for one of my book clubs, like I usually host and cook, but I asked for help. I said that I can't take on any of this hosting. Others were happy to step in. It's fine. That way, I can still go to the book club. I just don't have to do all that extra work around it for this period of time. And then for the volleyball tournaments that I mentioned, now that we're for sports parents, my husband and I split up all of the weekends. We calendared all out so that our time outlays are roughly equal on the commitment that we're giving to this. And as I have made some, volleyball parent friends, we are now talking about carpooling even more so that everyone is getting back a little bit of their time. Now, does it suck to have to make these trade-offs? Yeah, I mean, this is not my favorite, right? I actually really love hosting. I like all of these things that I'm cutting back are things I actually really love, right? So it doesn't feel great, but it feels so, so much better to intentionally make these temporary changes than to rush around pretending like somehow I'm going to be able to get it all done and then feeling bad about myself when I can't. So, 3 questions for you to think about the next time you are entering a particularly busy season of your life. Number one, what signs will help you notice when you're entering a particularly busy season, right? That sign for me, there probably should have been more signs, but that first sign was that I couldn't schedule anything for months. What are the signs for you? Number two, what are your non negotiables, even when things get wildly busy? What are the things you are not willing to give up? And then three, what intentional trade offs can you make to ensure that you don't burn out? And these can be intentional and they can be temporary. But what are you going to do to make sure that you don't burn out? So the next time you're entering one of those really busy seasons, learn from what I have just gone through. Ask yourself these 3 questions, and I bet you will be so much better prepared than I was. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Do More, Stress Less podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with somebody who could use a little less stress in their life. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're excited to take action or you need a little extra support, check out the free resources available on my website or schedule a free consultation call with me. You can do both of these at alexishasselberger.com. See you next time.